We had been looking at video conferencing, I think, for a couple of years. Not just to do video conferencing, but how to do video conferencing well.
Our first step into robotic telepresence was somewhat accidental. Now, a couple of years down the road, I can't imagine letting these go.
Robotic Telepresence research. More than cool. Thinking about the things that you've learned while you've been using the different technologies, and I'm thinking both robots. Our doctoral program has two tracks. We have an on-campus track and a hybrid track, students that are off campus.
How do I address student populations, maybe work in addition to going to school, and how do I give them the same quality learning experience?
Most of our studies have centered around the idea of telepresence.
So telepresence is a stand-in, it's a presence for you if you weren't physically there.
I was like everybody else. I had a hard time at first kind of wrapping my head around the idea of why robotic telepresence.
Making sure that we understand how to make that learning environment successful, I think, is a really important question for today's higher education.
Synergizing rich learning and teaching environments requires real-world research. Research supported by the Design Studio and MSU's College of Education and conducted by the Slate Research Group. We've done studies where we've had classes that are all on video conference.
Since robotic telepresence and video telepresence technologies embody people differently,
we've had studies that look at mix of both video conferencing and robotic telepresence.
We wanted to see if those different forms of technologies may have had a measurable and significant impact on how students and teachers engage with each other.
And mainly our interests are understanding what it means to be present.
Do they talk more or less frequently with their peers when they're in one form versus the other? Do teachers pay the same or different levels of attention to students who are embodied in one form or another?
Being a research group, we actually can collaborate with others on various specific research topics. That is very valuable.
Discovery, insight, fitting. Cool.
And I think it is cool, but it's more than that.
Innovative.
Mobility.
Time-saving.
Futuristic.
So when I come by robot, certainly I have the sense of access.
Just some of the words that describe the early results of Slate research on telepresence for teaching and learning.
Right now, our data suggests that social presence is not as strong of a predictor of self-reported engagement as we initially anticipated.
We did interviews with our hybrid students.
But it looks like embodiment may be a pretty strong predictor of a behavioral engagement in the classroom.
Whether it's the screen, the voice that comes out of the speaker, somehow it's become a part of what people think of you.
These technologies enable them to work on a doctoral program while having their full-time job.
And that's why we're in an ed tech program, to use technology, to understand how it functions, to understand how it makes us feel.
There's a sort of connoisseurship about telepresence. It's not always robotic telepresence. It's not always video conferencing. Maybe it's a mixture of all of these.
So the first time that we used Beam, it was really interesting for me.
No one tool is always best.
The second time when we actually had to break into small group discussions and we had to move the robots into a different room to be able to chat more privately, that was pretty cool as well.
If you have too many people on robots, it becomes very difficult to see what's happening in the room, to position yourself correctly.
And so I think that a benefit of using different types is that we discover some of these tools are much better suited to certain contexts, to certain purposes, to certain strategies.
Knowing when to use that mixture in a way that's not confusing, but supports the learning and understanding, that's been the real crux of our research and where we want to take it. And we're not done yet. It's exciting.
I would love to see the robots have some sort of arm.
When you go into a room as a robot, you have forward, backward, left, right, and that's it. If you want to manipulate an object, you can't reach out and touch it. You're dependent on other people who are physically embodied in the room.
But also maybe use it as a remote camera that could look into different areas.
See the facial expression of a student who's speaking across the room. They do have the ability to magnify the view a bit more, but to be able to do that even more would be great.
Just to their height. so that they can have the same eye level with other students.
Technology that enables people to have a better perception of their own projection.
The future of robotic telepresence, humanizing technology with the traditional classroom.
The ways in which people are present when they come by robot is significantly different from anything else we've been able to do.
They could not imagine taking classes remotely if they do not have these technologies.
We live in a world of shared experiences. What we do, what we say, compose, can have a real impact on people.
That device now is a stand-in for you, and you need to take seriously how people are going to perceive you.